Welcome. This is the Late Late Show with BT, where views with security and the law are being provided to you, the public. So I'm going to begin with updates this show. Um, First things first, I mentioned that Brad Pitt is an interest with regards to what is that, co-host, yeah. But we have another interest, and that's Mr. Puff. So the interest is Mr. Puff and Mr. Pitt. Mr. Puff, also known as Sean Combs. So those are our interests. And I'm not going to let go of either of them. So that's the new update. And unfortunately, well, we had the opportunity to go to a domestic violence workshop on October 14th at St. Paul's Baptist Church, which is located in Richmond, Virginia. Well, there's actually three campuses, but the campus that this was located is Richmond, Virginia. So we got a chance to go to that, and there was a a testimony given by Keisha Valentine. So as you know, we are up against a predator, and the case is in the courts. We go to court again Thursday, and this case began around July of 2017. So around September of 2017, Keisha was shot. Her and her son was shot, and her son was killed by his dad, her husband, who eventually killed himself. So we get the connection to this case, and not just this case, but the connection to our church, our St. Paul's Baptist Church's senior pastor. So we get that, and it was saddened that that will happen 2 months after this case started becoming underway. Um, what it appears to have happened is that this predator is attempting to gain illegally an order. So it appears that because of that illegality surrounding this order, it didn't survive 3 months, and it showed up in the Carolina area. And that's why it's important for this predator to meet its justice, because it has been not just been a predator with regards to relations and family, but it's been a predator with regards to city, community, and services that's offered by the community, and services that are supposed to be there for like a Keisha Valentine that needs to keep away a predator. So unfortunately, this case is in Carolina area, is clearly connected, and even though Miss Valentine considers herself a survivor, we're praying for true survivorship, because until this predator meets its justice, it hasn't resolved itself. So it's more of a testimony as opposed to her being a survivor. So that's just an example of what we're up against. And again, we are hoping for a speedy resolve. And I think I've updated with regards to the hostage situation, where the hostage situation went from one hostage to two hostages. So now the predator has two in this residence. So the commonality that one of the hostages, this newer hostage, has with Keisha Valentine is that Keisha Valentine, even though she did not die, she is paralyzed. And this hostage also cannot get around on her own and requires assistance to for her ADLs or her activities of daily living. So, as you can probably ascertain, that this predator preys on victims that I don't want to say it's a control thing, but it doesn't have any type of restraint as to the type of victim. Like, it doesn't care if it's paralyzed or need assistance with his with his or her ADLs, or can't physically walk, or so those are just some examples. I've been forthright about the community that this show serves, but it also includes animals and caring for animals, because that's a community that doesn't speak a language that people can quite understand, or where you actually know what they're talking about. And the disabled, Keisha Valentine is paralyzed, that need assistance for certain things. So we're up against having those type of people safe. So we're, especially mentally and emotionally, where it's not like they need to, and they have no other choice but to receive and accept assistance from a predator. So the show will remain updated. We'll continue to update broadcasts through broadcasts on that particular situation. So I mentioned about the case and about our additional interest. I did briefly mention it one time with regards to maybe a substitute, that he would be a good substitute. But as I spent more time into, because I've been forthright about my support when it comes to being authentic with what you have and who you are, what's in your ID. And so with that in mind, it brought up that idea of accepting both into my life. Accepting both as contributors to this show. Which brought me to learn more about the term polyandry. So I never really thought about it before. I know that I have bigamy, but it's very is not as widespread. It's very, I'm not going to say exclusive, but it has a certain, I just became more aware when I got to be more aware about transgender and how it actually contributes, and I got to be more aware about lesbianism and how it actually contributes, when I got to be more aware about bisexuality and how it actually contributes, then I began to digest the idea of bigamy a little bit more. So there are some places in the world that accept what is known as polyandry, where where a woman can have more than one husband. So it's not everywhere, but it is in a lot of places. But it brings about another challenge, that if in fact you have these responsibilities and this is a part of who you are, do you include the challenge of legalizing that which is a part of who you are, or do you accept things how they are, where it's legal here but it's not here? You accept that and you continue to have a focus of community contribution. The community contribution, whereas this community has this unique contribution and that is who they are. This community had this unique contribution and that is who they are. Do you continue with that is already in place, or do you because you prefer it here over there but it's not here, or do you advocate for it being someplace where it isn't currently? So those are the type of things that is up the challenge when it comes to polyandry. And then having the goal of this show as being a foundation for our contribution with regards to Secretary General brings about another challenge. What does that say? Does that add to how we maintain peace and order and law, or is it in ours to have it legalized with boundaries? And because it's not a mass communication, like it's not a massive, it's not a massive distributing idea or concept, should there be a certain price point that's associated with it to make it clear that it's geared, or its identity is for certain type of communities? So those are some questions that we're up against, and I have not attempted to contact Mr. Puff to date, as of today, but I have contacted a show with regards to interacting with Mr. Puff. So other than those things, have no idea or clue as to how it's all going to be brought together, but I am in the faith that it will come together and we'll be reunited, because it's inevitable and so many things are connected to it that it is it might even in some perspectives be considered mandatory, a mandate that it happens. But anyway, we're gonna move on into the show. Another key unique aspect of this show is that most of the other shows I've used contributions from subscriptions, but this particular show I happened to be at the my university library, and they were giving away some publications. So I decided to pick up some things and do a show just from what I got from this university's library. And that is going to be the show today. So a lot of these magazines are older, but I'm interested to see, I don't take anything for granted. So I'm interested to see what's going to come up. And the magazines that we'll be reading from is National Geographic, January 2009, Beyond Today, May through June 2016, The State of AIDS in America and The State of AIDS in Black America 2017, and an annual report Black AIDS Institute 2016. Essence, February 2005. Women's Health, September 2016. Black Enterprise, March 2005. Women's Health, December 2016. Teen Vogue, Volume 2, The Music Issue, 2017. And the book, I just happened to just walk by and just pick this and just see this. So I went to see the movie, the new version of this movie, and it really didn't. What was interesting in it before it turned me off was the stage combat or the fighting sequences that the women have. But then what turned me off was that there was a character in there that the Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman appeared to have defeated, and that had no basis in reality. Even though it's Wonder Woman, granted, that was going beyond, in my opinion, or in the opinion of the views with security and law, that was going beyond it being fictional or it being fantastical in presentation. So this book is Wonder Woman, The Ultimate Guide to the Amazon Princess by Scott Beatty. So that's Wonder Woman, The Ultimate Guide to the Amazon Princess by Scott Beatty, which is going to be our contribution to the book. So you're going to be totally fine up there. Just follow this advice. Now screening Pretty Babies. Jacqueline M. Satera, DPM. Help! My feet seem to be getting bigger. It's a subtle growth expansion though, so your shoes may just need to be stretched out. A cobbler can do this for about $10. Not much you can do about it since your body needs that hormone to birth a baby. The noxious scent comes when sweat mixes with bacteria on your feet. After your daily wash, sprinkle on a foot powder to absorb excess moisture, leaving bacteria little to feast on. Or if you've got time, brew some black tea, and once it cools, do a 10-minute foot soak every day for a week, which will shrink the sweat glands. Those bony bumps jutting from your big toe joint are a bitch and largely genetic. You want to slow their progression by wearing shoes with a roomy toe box. Press the ball of your bare foot down into the ground while contracting the arc, but without curling your toes. Behind the scenes reflexology. Lift your pelvis and roll your body forward until the roller reaches the back of your knees. So question, what if we built the wall? 323 million people, the entire U.S. population, could be exposed to SARS and tuberculosis. The median household earnings of citizen wives and children left behind by deported males, 9 million people in the U.S. are mixed status families, will fall by half to less than $25,000 a year. This is the cost predicted by the American Action Forum of building the wall and creating a force of deportation officers to patrol the border and carry out raids. Those costs might be offset by the likelihood that foreign-born workers would seek preventive care for diabetes or heart disease, illnesses that cost the U.S. $546 billion every year, rather than relying on expensive emergency room visits for primary medical care. And this is all reported by Erica Pearson, a journalist who specializes in immigration. So immigration can be like a really iffy topic. I guess the big thing about it that isn't attractive is that when it's identified as a certain group of people, but yet it's something that the general population can connect to on some level. I guess that's the biggest thing about it. And it's like, how do you find that balance when it's something that needs to be addressed, or it's something that, borders need to be protected from? Like, how do you find that balance? For pasty gals, chalkiness ain't no thing, but the orange-brown tones and contour powders look way harsh. Cover dark circles with the orange tones, brighten dull spots with the mustard shades. So we're going to hear from Jessica Chia. It means bare, naked, in your birthday suit. Problem is, makeup used labeled nude typically refer to one birthday suit. Nondescript beige, hardly representative of all the flauntable complexion shades in the world. Finally, change has begun. As fashion houses like Christian Louboutin expand their nude collections to cover more tones, big-name beauty brands are jumping in, pouring money into new technologies and pigments, reformulating foundation lines, and creating lip collections with as many as 60 colors. We know where to find the best fix for your version of nude, whether that's porcelain, peach, khaki, ebony, or somewhere in between. Thanks to these better sheer formulas, brands have been able to expand their range of tones. In doing so, we were able to identify which pigments were best to fit a range of diverse skin tones. Pros: a beauty advisor will ID your skin tone with a color scanner, which reads and reproduces your exact hue for a truly custom shade in 5 minutes. Cons: you're giving the best match to one of Dior's existing shades. Pros recommend these bases for 3 of the trickiest complexions. And then we're back to for pasty gals, chalkiness ain't no thing, but the orange brown tones and contour powders look way harsh. Cover dark circles with the orange tones, brighten dull spots with the mustard shades. So nudes could be a nightmare. It seems so simple. You just want to look natural and use something that's nude. But it's one of those things, I guess, like body image. It's not as easy, That's not to say that you have to have a good body image to wear nude, but it's just the best advice that I can give you when you find something that you like and it's nude, is to not focus on that it's nude, but just how stay within the company. So if it is, let me see what's listed on here. If it is a nude from, let's say, Lancome, then don't focus on that you're wearing nude, but just focus on that, you bought it from Lancome. like stay with the company or the brand versus, nude number 12. That's the best advice that I could probably share. So 5 juicy questions with Joel Kinnaman. Name one habit that you need to break. Can you be trusted with a secret? In responses, it's easier for me to work through the difficulties that I'm going through by talking about it. But there's a bigger risk of that burning out. Blonde, brunette, or redhead? So one habit that I need to break is I cannot think of a habit that I need to break. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't spit a lot. Those are habits that I'm not fond of. That I would say, yeah, break those. People that spit a lot, smokers that throw their cigarettes out the window or that throw it outside other than in a designated area for cigarettes. Chewing tobacco and spitting on the street. I guess one habit that I have right now is just having a lot of fun alone. And it probably needs to be broken, but replaced, replace that having this fun alone with having this fun with who you're supposed to have all this fun with. Instead of just like, oh, don't do this, or, whatever. Or, take this away, and because you're just having absolutely too much fun with this, and put something else there that's not as fun. Instead of just trying to do that, just replace it with someone with who is worthy of having that same fun with you. Or, maybe instead of, chewing tobacco and spitting it out, replace it with a piece of gum or replace it with a mint. Can you be trusted with a secret? Secrets to me are not something that you necessarily supposed to be trusted with. A secret to me is a secret. It's not that you're not trusted with it, but it's just not one of those things that I would seek out trust for, because it's a darn secret. And it has such not a good connotation, because, especially when you're public, it makes it the secret as if it's something that's not really good, because you're like keeping it away. It's something that's not supposed to, that it's not that it's not supposed to be shared, it's just that you're not going to share it. So, and blonde, brunette, or redhead, they're all so unique. So I don't have a favorite, but I guess in a way the redhead would be a favorite, but that's like so general and not specific to my personal taste. But there is no like blonde, brunette, or redhead. It's more like who can absorb it is where it comes from. If you're blonde but you're not really blonde, and I don't mean that you're like a dirty blonde or it's like hair dye, but you're not manifested, like you weren't, like it doesn't become you. That becomes like what becomes most important, that it becomes you. If you're blonde, it becomes you. If you're brunette, it becomes you. If you're a redhead, it becomes you. Whether you are, whether it's natural or whatever, but as long as it becomes you, where it's absorbed in your personality or your ways. Jessica Mihalik Lucas. Perhaps that's why divorce is the second most stressful life event behind the death of a spouse, and why the entire premise of HBO's Divorce debuted, explores the complexities of a modern couple's drawn-out split. When Iris, 34, broke up with her live-in boyfriend of 3 years, he moved out of their 3-bedroom place, leaving her to pony up the $1,800 monthly rent solo because she couldn't find a new roommate or a smaller apartment. The sad reality is 27% of cohabiting couples, there's over 7 million of them, per the U.S. Census Bureau, break up within 3 years of moving in together, according to a report by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Plus, you should be talking honestly about your financial situations, which will make it easier to establish expectations. Without one, you may have to go to court and start a petition action on the house if you can't agree on who is buying the other person out, says chair of the matrimonial practice group at NYC's Blank Rome law firm. Co-pays for therapy because of the breakup, according to this bill, run at about $100. So, if you're the breadwinner, which more and more women are these days, lawyers confirm you may be ponying up for the legal fees. My experience with women who've been the primary earners is that they are surprised they will have to split their 401k savings equally and may even have to pay alimony, says the vice president and portfolio manager at wealth management firm R.M. Davis in Portland, Maine. Although only 2% of Americans have a prenup, a 2015 survey found that 81% of people wouldn't call their love into question if their significant other proposed one. So it's not the romance killer it's been rumored to be. So on this bill, what can I spend on my daughter for activities, including the $50 I used to be able to put into her savings account? About $0. So the average middle-income family would spend $240,000 per child to raise the child to age 18. That's a big budget to manage, says Michelle Crosby, a former family law attorney and founder of divorce mediation company Divorce. Here's the lowdown on what's commonly found in these registries and what pros think should be there. For the people in your life who are more sympathetic towards your emotional state, paying for a cooking class, singing lessons, or a gym membership could be the gift of therapy they'd be happy to provide, and you happy to receive, suggests creator of online community The Boyfriend Cleanse. Jessica Mihalik Lucas. So divorce and cohabitating. So I guess, talking about polyandry. So where it's not legal, it brings us to the question, so should you cohabitate where it's not legal, and do common law there? That cohabitating and then divorcing. So when divorce is not in yours, then what is it? What is there? What is that penalty to adultery? And adultery from the perspective that you sought to have sex with someone else's spouse. Let's take my situation, for example. I've claimed these individuals as this always being the case. So anything that was outside of that, I've mentioned this before, could be argued that it was adultery. These offenders were seeking to have sex, seeking to harm, seeking to offend someone else's spouse. Lisa Marshall. So, take a seat at whatever end of the conference table is farthest from that box of donuts and map your route to the ladies' room to avoid strolling by the sweets dish at reception. That's because we tend to mimic our companion's order and then linger, getting dessert or picking at the plate when we're no longer hungry, all while chatting. So we pay less attention to what and how much we're eating. Only 1 in 5 employees regularly takes an actual lunch break, with most snarking something down over their keyboard or skipping the meal altogether, according to career placement firm Right Management. So I thought about it, and when it comes to lunch, I kind of support an hour lunch, but there's still those people that, that seems like it's too much for them. They like their job that much that, they just want to grab something and, use their time to complete what they need to complete so they can go. So, but I'm definitely for the hour lunch but the only thing with that is like, I'm for the hour lunch because what if you want to go out? But on the other hand, I'm for everything being centrally located so that you don't have to get in the car and drive 15 minutes to go get you some lunch. And, it takes you about 20 minutes total to go and come back, and then you have to eat and, so I'm for everything being centrally located. Amanda Pfeiffer. Turns out the same bacteria that transform cabbage into kraut also aid digestion, fight infection, and enhance immunity. Once you've set up your jars of chopped veggies, simply leave them to sit for several weeks at room temperature while the bacteria that live on the skins work their magic. They feast on natural sugars, turning them into lactic acid and adding a tangy, sour flavor. So, dissolve salt in water, then pour the brine into the jar, filling to about 1/4 inch above the vegetables. Pack cauliflower and fill in the jar to 1 to 2 inches below the rim. In a bowl, toss turnips with salt and let sit for 10 minutes. Once a small puddle forms in the bowl, pack turnips in a quart jar, filling to 2 inches below the rim. And you will have contributed to garlicly red peppers, spicy cauliflower, and seasoned sour loathing. Mixologists are experimenting with cultures like champagne yeast is added to mixed drinks, then bottled to create a naturally fizzy powder, and koji, a mold used to make sake that adds a touch of umami. How about these apples? Put your money where your eyes are. VR is set to rake in $30 billion by 2020. Talk therapy can lead to positive changes in the brain's prefrontal cortex, an area linked to regulating emotions, but opening up to a live person can be nerve-wracking. What if she judges me? Hook it up with a high-tech system like Oculus Rift or HTC Vive, and you'll go harder and longer. Research suggests that the gaming factor not only ups exercise enjoyment, but may also enhance performance by taking your mind off any discomfort. Jessica Mangala. So that's something I haven't tried. This virtual reality where it looks like, I don't know what exactly it is, but it looks like some type of headpiece that covers your eyes, and I don't know if it's supposed to be like some movie that you look at and it's 3D, but is it interesting or is it just like a nuisance? Jamie Hergenbrader, about to blow a gasket. Your cable goes out again during the premiere of The Blacklist. You can also ask your work wife, to be honest, do you think I complain too much? A 2014 study found that retail therapy helps to buy relief from the doldrums. Maybe it's time to break up with your current birth control. So that's another thing that I've learned to look at differently, birth control. The Buccaneer St. Croix. Gracious, elegant, legendary. The Buccaneer has welcomed guests to play and relax for nearly 70 years and offers St. Croix's finest services and accommodation. 138 rooms, plus a 6-bedroom villa, 3 beaches, golf, tennis, 2 pools, superb cuisine, free children's program, spa, and water sports on 340 secluded beachfront acres. The Beehive will drink to this. Do you want to be the first to know about the latest trends and share your opinion about them? We run to build relationships. Boob talk. Jessica Incorporated. Before personal brand became the cliche of our times, Jessica Simpson perfected hers simply by being real. Free to be you. You were born to shine. Break through your weight loss plateau. Sexy abs and a tight butt. For Daniel, if I could construct the perfect soulmate, it would be you. How else am I to begin this sugar-crusted poem about a love I never expected, a heart palpitation I never detected, a dream I thought would never fade away? Or, more exactly, have I told you at the very moment I spotted you behind the scenes of that show that your royal river smile ruptured the rotting stitches in my mind and begat a willowy cinnamon woman I had caressed at another time in the bush on that ship beyond the ear-splitting silence of the middle passage and the sadistic alleyways of that plantation at the crossroads between Jim Crow and We Free? I say all of this to say that that night you stood before me, Saturday, April 7, 2001. Time took off its watch and smashed it to the ground. And I knew simply that I needed to know you, that our spirits had once kissed the sky in unison, and that we had traveled from a planet they call memory to this moment. And I saw no one else in that universe soul except me, except you, Kevin Powell. American. We were dancing. It must have been a foxtrot or a walk, something romantic but requiring restraint. Rise and fall, precise execution as we moved into the next song without stopping, two chests heaving above a 7-league stride. Such perfect agony one learns to smile through. Ecstatic mimicry being the sine qua non of American smooth. And because I was distracted by the effort of keeping my frame, the leftward lean head turned just enough to gaze out past your ear, and always smiling, smiling. I didn't notice how still you become until we had done it. The 2 measures forward achieved flight, that swift and serene magnificence, before the earth remembered who we were and brought us down. Rita Dove. Reprinted from American Smooth by Rita Dove. So it made me think of the untimely passing of Lorna Pinckney, who evidently for 15 years has been providing a resource or a location or space for poets and artists and singers to perform, to get up on the mic or get up on the stage, listen to music, have great food in the Richmond area. When I started doing poetry in the 99, 2000s, I would say I started, I did eventually go to, which she called Tuesday Verses, which was at that time was at Tropical Soul on 2nd Street. Unfortunately, it did not work out for me. So I just kind of stopped being in that particular scene. But recently, the church, my church, St. Paul's Baptist Church, had a homecoming, and Lorna Pinckney and her group or her team did a show there. So I was able to participate and show support. So I was saddened to hear that, not even 2-3 months later that she passed. But I don't know if they will continue to have the spoken word that they do, which I think moved to Addis Ababa's, no, the Ethiopian restaurant. My suggestion is for it to not be a cost. It used to be, from what I understand, like $7 or $5, and it went up to $7. For it not to be a cost, and for them to receive donations or, and to get their funding elsewhere. But that would be like my suggestion to that team if they continue on with it. So it's saddened that Lorna passed at 43, and yeah, and I think the last thing I did there at 2 Street was a medley with Vivian Green, Jill Scott, and Mary, I think. My first time doing a medley, my first time really going into song on the mic, because I've just always just done, poetry, or then I stopped doing my own poetry and started doing, the same poem of a different artist. So that was new to me, and I remember it being a very comfortable environment. It has its challenges, with regards to character and teammates, but I can say that I did feel, that I could do that, and um, you know, I don't know if it was necessarily hosting the band, which at the time I think it was Chicken Grease, or if it was the people, the restaurant, the owner of the restaurant, but um, I guess being, in that community at that particular time, it just all kind of worked out and worked together. So rest in peace, Lorna Pinckney. Shanta Davis, Forestville, Maryland. On Sunday mornings, you'll find me sitting at her table, drinking coffee, spilling my guts, and asking for advice and recipes. She's my sweetie, and I will always love her, especially because she taught me how to be a lady. Because we asked, how do you keep your family connected across the generations? Well, for me, I learned to appreciate the more, to kind of not necessarily disassociate myself from what I thought was family, what's considered the closeness, but to really appreciate family as a whole and family as a source or service to the public and the community. So I found that by going into that perspective, that has kept me connected to family and has helped me to identify different areas that's related to family that will trickle down, if that's what that does, to the ones that, that were put in my life to grow up from or to learn from, because those ones are putting your life closer, whether you become more broader and wider sense of national with family, they're put there so that you can get what you're supposed to get in yours with family too. I've learned that. But another thing that helps stay connected with family is to not be afraid to let go, but to also not be afraid to not let go, where you're not supposed to let go, and not be afraid to take a stand. Jeanette Valentine, the Louis Armstrong House. From the textured sea-west wall covering used on the first floor to the all-mirrored master bathroom, the house retains the mix of glitz and humility that characterized the Bat when the Armstrongs called it home. Known as the founder of jazz music, left behind a treasure trove of writings, recordings, and other heirlooms that capture an important piece of our culture. No other place in the North tells the story of the presence of Africans in the colonies, how they took their pride in their work and contributed so much to the building of our country. The garden also enabled enslaved men and women to generate income by selling surplus food at the nearby Westchester Market, now part of the Bronx. The display of a 19th century 20 by 30 foot slave pen that was once crowded with men, women, and children waiting to be sold on the auction block. Read about a location beforehand, Carrier says, or take a history book along so you can fully appreciate what you're seeing. The best French toast. So you may or you may not know that French toast is one of my dishes. Like, I like when I don't know how to make it, but I like it, you know. So like, you know, whoever I'm like in a relationship with, I'm like, I still hope they know how to make French toast. So it's not interesting too. Like at least one of you have got to be able to make some good ass French toast. Set a beautiful table. For trust to flourish, you have to believe that you know your partner's character and conduct intimately. You know, I don't think I've learned that trust is something that is just there. You know, like it's not something that I don't think it necessarily flourishes from the perspective that it was never there and it just kind of grows. But I just think it's always there. You know, you just make it better and better and better. Um, and as far as knowing your partner's character and conduct intimately, I don't think that, you know, when you, because that's something that you know and something that you have, I really don't think that, you know, offenders should try to take advantage of that. Well, this is something that you know, so, you know, because don't you know it? Don't you know this person? Like, I don't think that your loved one or your partner should, you know, that they're, you know, you should always have that defense, you know, when it comes to, you know, an offender trying to gain an opportunity, you know, because, you know, God's nature is unchanging, you know, and who would it be that try to have, you know, that try to have it appear to be something that it's not? Like, who is that? Donna Owens, now led by the visionary Dr. Janetta V. Poe, is blending the traditions of the past with present-day needs to secure its future. It's a special night on the beautiful campus of Bennett College for Women in Greensboro, North Carolina. They learn in small classes where they receive personal attention, graduating with high school diplomas and a bridge to Bennett. Black Entertainment Television co-founder Sheila Crump Johnson has restyled the largest individual gift, $1 million. Here at Bennett, we're baking the cake. So, you know, I always thought it would be interesting to go to a historical black school, black college, university, which is what I'm doing right now. Hopefully that will continue until I complete the degree, but if that does not happen, you know, I did participate with that experience. So Bennett, I believe, is one of those historically black colleges and universities. Breaking the chains. Joy DeGruy Leary. We know that people do not have to directly experience an event to be traumatized by it, and research has shown that severe trauma can affect multiple generations. We have been hurt, not just by the obvious physical assaults, but in deep psychological ways that are connected to centuries of abuse. And because they didn't get free therapy after slavery, these behaviors are passed through the generations. But what are some of the specific behaviors we exhibit today that can be traced directly back to slavery? So Brenda Wade, we try to protect them. So let me answer that question. What are some of the specific behaviors we can exhibit today? We exhibit today that can be traced directly back to slavery. You know, if you think about it, it's like slavery is illegal. So it wouldn't be any behaviors that are legal. So it would be those behaviors, some of those behaviors that are not legal. We try to protect them by explaining sex and sexuality in a punitive, prohibitive way. Now with Brenda Wade, we say, girl, keep your legs together, rather than arming them with real information about healthy sexuality, relationships, pregnancy, and birth control. Wyatt. House slaves sneaked food to others who couldn't get into the house or eavesdropped to gather information about who was going to be sold, which could be the impetus for people going on the Underground Railroad or escaping. I don't have the skills others have. I don't deserve to be happy, successful, or loved. During slavery, we learned to bond with other slaves who weren't related to us. We must never forget that we are strong people who endured something as brutal and unrelenting as our enslavement period. So slavery is such a iffy topic, you know, it's just one of those things that when you get older, you grow, you learn, you gain a different perspective about it. The beautiful ones. He shows a willingness to be vulnerable that I can only imagine comes from the romantic tumult of a decade between us. Mary Lord. By early 2003, Sabrina found herself aboard a sweltering tank barreling toward Baghdad, while Derek celebrated his 24th birthday with his unit in Iraq that December. Dave missed birthdays, holidays. Oh my gosh, that's how I feel. Like we miss birthdays, holidays. You know, they miss birthdays, holidays, their anniversary, the green trees back home in Tuskegee, and of course, the children. Sabrina had just returned from maternity leave and giving birth to Leilani when the call came for her and Derek to deploy overseas in February 2003. They had shipped out for training to the base in Georgia a number of times before, but Sabrina and her daughter had barely had a chance to bond. It was the beginning of a 7-month separation that both Sabrina and Derek say was one of the most challenging of their young marriage. I don't want to burden the relationship, she explains. At her mother's urging, Sabrina reluctantly saw a military therapist, but even Prozac failed to lift her gloom. I'm truly blessed. She went to bed that night at peace. Through a huge welcome home barbecue, the wedding bash the couple had never had. It was tough, but going to war was the best thing that could have happened to us, whose new assignments and recruiting offers would keep her close to home. The couple have a new appreciation for simple comforts. They sit on the back porch enjoying the breeze. Kenya and Bert. Based on the book by Jacqueline Woodson, Miracle's Boys follows the lives of 3 orphaned brothers, Charlie, Tyree, and Lafayette, as they struggle to remain a family after losing their parents. As told to Joy Duckett Kane. For example, in investment banking, you have to be tough. To be tough doesn't have to mean hard. Do I still want to become an officer? My number one balancing tip is that you have to be organized. Nikki Kimbrough works entire body, especially glutes, hamstrings, hip flexors, thighs, and lower back. Works lower body along with shoulders, back, biceps, and triceps. Jump up and quickly move your lower body in a scissor motion so that you land with right leg forward and right arm behind you. Works entire body, including biceps, triceps, and shoulders. Nikki Kimbrough is a health and fitness expert for Bally Total Fitness. We'll begin with Nicole Saunders. Experts long believed that estrogen made women less vulnerable than men to heart disease. The WISE research also shows that routine screenings our doctors rely on aren't always the best way to detect heart disease in women. Get the best test. But many hospitals do not offer cardiac MRI screening yet, and insurance plans seldom cover the test because the technology is new, says Jennifer Mears, MD, a spokesperson for the American Heart Association. If you cannot get a cardiac MRI, Mears recommends that you ask your doctor for a stress nuclear test or a stress echo test. Both take pictures of the heart, are 80 to 90% accurate in diagnosing heart disease only, are available to the public, and are often covered by insurance. Smoking destroys the protective lining of your arteries and is the biggest risk factor for sudden cardiac death. So I brought up smoking before. That is one of those habits that I don't have, but it's a habit that I support broken or cease. You know, cigarettes can be such a, you know, it's not even just cigarettes, you know. You just want to be doing the right thing, treating everybody right, you know, and not have something like a cigarette having to go into defense because, you know, you just don't got it, or you're a child molester in it, or you're a predator in it. So that, what's that motto? You know, treat people like you would want to be treated. And if you won't want to be molested, so don't molest. You won't want to be fondled, so don't fondle. You know, and if you don't have the restraint You know, if somebody didn't have the restraint, when you want them to have restraint, or they simply cannot have restraint, when you want them to meet the consequences and the justice regarding that, take birth control off your mind and just keep it on you. Black Rhythm by the Infinity FX 45. The Bowed and the Beautiful. Mainstream beauty. Beauty news in the bedroom. Think big. Nicole Saunders. In 1945, Black protesters demanded change. Officials gave them Virginia Key Beach, and it soon became the hub of Black life, a place African Americans called their own. Integrated in the 1960s, the beach was closed by the city in 1982 to cut costs. With range at the helm, the trust has restored some of the beach's fixtures, and it plans to build a Black museum there, inspired by the past. So this is kind of interesting. About, I think it was September the 23rd was my first time going to what they call Buckrow Beach or something like that, which I didn't know there was a Buckrow Beach. I was only familiar with Virginia Beach in Virginia, so I didn't even know there was a Virginia Key Beach. And I don't even know this Virginia Key Beach was actually in Virginia, or it just was called that someplace else. But evidently Buckrow Beach was a beach that was for Blacks. When it first started. So this is Virginia Key Beach. Let's see if anything comes up about it. Okay, so evidently this was located in Florida. You know, it's still called Virginia Key Beach, but it's located in Florida, which is quite interesting. Inspired by the past. Yvonne Chima, North Carolina. However, when an adult woman kills her husband because she didn't have the guts to leave, she should be thrown in jail for the rest of her life. So I don't know if the situation was where the woman was, you know, it's a domestic violence situation, and she's saying that the woman did not have, instead of her leaving the domestic violence situation, that she killed the husband, and said that she should be thrown in jail for the rest of her life. That's really a strong, you know, opinion to have. Lisa Horton, Irvington, New Jersey. I've always admired her, and I'm proud she's now forced to be reckoned with in movies, in the recording industry, and on Broadway. She also seems to be a hands-on mom who won't have Hollywood monster kids running around. That's kind of funny. Hollywood monster kids. So according to King's Dominion, Monster is deceased. So I was thinking that, you know, I have like do a little project, and because the Shockwave is deceased as of 2015. Now they have all these different things, concepts, ideas that's deceased, has a beginning date and an end date. So I thought that, you know, one day when I go there that I would write them all down, and, you know, because I like to honor that, you know, if something is deceased, you know, that's something that you want to, like, you have to keep that in mind. You know, if it's deceased like on a business level, because it's not a personal, it's not somebody's home. You know, it's like a professional environment. So if it's deceased on a professional level, being responsible in this community, that's a good to know, because you don't want to be supporting, you know, monster drinks, people drinking monster drinks, and it was deceased permanently, and it has a date. So it's probably, of course, I guess, you know, why, or, you know, but if they got that where they could decease that permanently, you know, you want to be mindful of that. Donna M. Owens. She has written for the Baltimore Sun and the Chicago Tribune. Bridge to the Future. In spite of the briefing, books, and the overall efficiency of Hagen and his team, travel follow-ups occasionally occur. Keeping the boss on schedule. So I have a bog turtle, which I can't really tell the difference physically from a bog turtle and a regular turtle. The palm-sized bog turtle, smallest, oh, it's the smallest in the country. It now survives mostly on private lands. So this picture is like it takes up almost the entire page. So I don't know how small that is, if it's like in the palm of your hand, or if it's like one of those little chocolate turtles with the nuts and caramel, or is that size. Like, what if you're eating a bog turtle just with chocolate and nuts? It's a splendorous landscape, dynamic and rich, tumultuous and delicate, too good to be a mere destination. So Mark Zhu from Honolulu, Hawaii. The quote on page 104 says, by 2030, 8.3 billion people will walk the earth, and farmers will have to grow 30% more grain. Will we have to bulldoze subdivisions to do it? Homes for people are legitimate use, but the current practice of using the best land for subdivisions forces farmers to work land that probably never should be cultivated in the first place. Carrie Landed, Storrs, Connecticut. Profits continue to be reaped and humanity displaced. The benefits of the Sabbath. So the Sabbath is one of those 10 commandments that was not included in the New Testament. So the Old Testament has 10 commandments, all 10 commandments, but when the New Testament came along, they included all of the commandments except the one about the Sabbath. So that means there's 9. And this is with Steve Myers. There's another kind of benefit program that everyone should want to be a part of. There are real, tangible benefits to keeping the Sabbath. So I guess we are in the Old Testament. That's why God set aside this time where we can put aside our daily concerns, our jobs, the grocery shopping that needs to be done, the errands, the household chores. Think about it. When was the last time you stopped and looked up at the stars and really enjoyed the beauty of a starlit night? It's a wonderful opportunity to draw closer to our Creator who made all these beautiful things. When you understand that the Sabbath is the amazing blessing God designed it to be for us, why would you not keep it every week? There's no better time to focus on connecting with Him. He showed us by example that He designed it to be a holy day on which to rest for the whole day. The Bible shares His perspective. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that it is in them, but He rested on the seventh day. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Exodus 20:11. God gave us the Sabbath as a way to push the reset button. I want to set you apart. I want you to be different. I want you to see that this is the way to live. God gave the Sabbath command to a people He had just rescued from the bondage of slavery. The Sabbath is not only intended to be a day of physical rest, but also a day of spiritual renewal and rejuvenation, a day to set us free. Friday sunset to Saturday sunset is the biblical Sabbath. And during that time period, Christians come together to worship God collectively as people. It reminds us that God makes a way for us to be full-time, full-fledged members of His divine family. It might seem a little difficult at first to do something different, but He wants to give you the best of spiritual blessings. What does the Bible say about the Sabbath day? So again, evidently, it's something that wasn't included in the New Testament. If I'm wrong, you can always email the show at latelateshowbt@gmail.com. Beyond Today Television, Bible study guides, video Bible series, the biblical alternative to Easter, Thankful for Beyond Today magazine, Beyond Today book. The Bible gives us the principles that can help us identify and choose the best options when making decisions. What does the Bible say about decision making? How else does the Bible tell us to seek wisdom? How your paid subscription to Beyond Today magazine has been. So those 2 questions, what does the Bible say about decision making? I personally do not have any personal quotes about what the Bible says about decision making. But you know, I think that decision making should be fair. I don't think that one person should have more leeway than the other necessarily, and I don't think that it should be a situation where um, you could be bullied or banked into making a decision that you strongly feel that isn't the right decision for you or your lives. And how else does the Bible tell us to seek wisdom? Um, Again, I don't have any specific passages in the Bible, but I would think that the Bible tells us to seek wisdom by going to the Word in the Bible, by taking time with your Bible, by praying for guidance, by praying to release yourself from the temptation to be a know-it-all. Why study the Bible? You study the Bible to show and to participate in being faithful. You're not studying the Bible so that you have memorized passages. You think you have these passages down. You are exhibiting faithfulness. Janet Treatway. She looks at this little boy as if he can do no wrong. Michelle and her husband had been trying for 8 years for this little one. But the fact is, he loved us so deeply that he gave his son for us. Someone brought a beautiful little blanket that my daughter loves wrapping him in. Nothing is so bad that he will abandon you. Nothing. In 2 Corinthians 1:4, we read that he comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. Psalm 46:1 reminds us, God is our refuge and strength, and ever-present help in trouble. Beyond today's television log, a provider's perspective, Dr. David Mallenbrunch. I became more convinced, and there seemed to be a cultural shift between 2014 and 2015. But the medical community is often rather conservative. People who go on PrEP need to be checked on a month later, and then every 3 to 4 months after that, and that's where a lot of the additional costs come in. A lot of people think that they are doing LGBT health, but they don't focus on how LGBT experiences are informed by cultural, racial, and ethnic differences. The big question for many clinics is whether they are in the role of social services, mental health, housing, education, insurance. When it comes to PrEP, Black America is being left behind. So back talk with George Foreman. He went from being a taciturn and intimidating boxer to a gregarious salesman who has sold more than 60 million George Foreman grills. Boxing today is in the shape that I found it back in 1967. People turn their back on boxing for a long time. The athletes are good as ever, but there is no celebrity boxer. Boxing goes through these stages. So when I had a chance to box again, I saw boxing not as a sport the second time around, but as pure business, which meant making meetings and trying to make myself attractive to Madison Avenue. The people behind the grill gave me a proposition, and I said, okay. That was one of my main reasons for leaving boxing in 77. I cut off all my hair and my mustache. I didn't want to identify with the old guy. I'm putting my best effort into that because it's something that people can use and it won't make them sick from chemicals. And these guys with the white jackets started asking me questions, so I think I might have to back off on that one. So I didn't know he stopped boxing at 77. And the idea that there's no celebrity boxer. Maybe there should be a celebrity boxer. Maybe there is. Maybe the celebrity boxer is Will Smith now. So it's funny because I wasn't really into boxing, but I bought a couple of George Foreman grills. And so it's like, how was I put in a community with him when I wasn't a part of his fan base when it comes to boxing? It's kind of interesting, as if when he went into the grills, he not that he necessarily abandoned it, but he went he did a totally new marketing campaign. Lisa Downer. Every year, the expo provides a vibrant forum for trade between buyers and suppliers, business owners, and prospective clients. In the bag. Angela P. Moore Thorpe. Will 911 be there to help? An order issued by the FCC requires all wireless carriers and cell phone manufacturers to provide the capability for automatically identifying to emergency dispatchers the location from which a wireless call is being made. The biggest problem that I have found is most people don't know that their cell phones can't be traced.
Attention patrons, your Petersburg Public Library will be offering free flu shots for the first 100 people ages 3 and up. Parents of minors must be present to consent. There are no other requirements. The flu shots are provided by your Petersburg Health Department. This event will be located in our Wellness Center, which is located on the 2nd floor. The hours will be between 4 p.m. until 7 p.m.
The biggest problem that I have found is most people don't know that their cell phones can't be traced. Push to get a $100 million loan through the state budget to pay for E911. We should be in full compliance by the end of this year, he adds. So evidently they're charging a tax for 911. I'm not supportive of that at all. So will 911 be there to help? I would like to think that 911 would be there to help. 411 is in the midst of, tracking or, contributing in the way that they contribute, whether they know it or not. So I would assume that 911 would be just as proactive as 411. B, work with various professional and collegiate sports organizations, industry insiders, and experts to determine the big players on and off the field. Athletes. Outperforming the competition and generating fan interest is the dream of most professional athletes. But to make our list, athletes had to excel on the playing field as well as land lucrative endorsement deals. And this is with additional reporting by Erica N. Goodman and Angela C. Allen. But the true power in sports is behind the scenes. And the power lies with those who have control over the business aspect of the industry. The true opportunities in sports are in the boardroom, not the locker room. Corporate executives. Although not employed by the leagues themselves, these execs have vast influence within the world of sports, whether through overseeing television programming and the revenues generated thereafter, or signing athletes to lucrative endorsement deals. Front office executives, leagues, and teams. To be considered for this category, candidates must have control over the business, operations, finances, and personnel decisions within their respective sports leagues or teams. The heads of these associations are forced to be reckoned with. For our purposes, owners must hold a controlling interest at least 51% of a major professional sports franchise to be eligible. So this is going into, again, I'm going to repeat this. This is with additional reporting with Erica and Goodman and Angela C. Allen. So it's sharing some of the qualifications and characteristics of certain people with regards to sports, such as athletes. Outperforming the competition and generating fan interest is the dream of most professional athletes, but to make our list, athletes had to excel on the playing field as well as land lucrative endorsement deals. So they expect athletes to not only be contributory on the field, but to get those endorsement deals, to get that advertising, to get that marketing. The corporate executives, although not employed by the leagues themselves, these execs have vast influence within the world of sports, whether through overseeing television programming and the revenues generated thereafter, or signing athletes to lucrative endorsement deals. So they're saying that the leagues, they're describing as if the leagues don't actually employ the corporate executives. But the corporate executives still have certain responsibilities, such as signing athletes to the lucrative deals that they expect the athletes to have. Front office executives, leagues, and teams. To be considered for this category, candidates must have control over the business operations, finances, and or personnel decisions within their respective sports leagues or teams. So these are front office execs, which are different than the corporate execs. These are specific to the leagues and the teams. So they're saying they want people who can understand how the business is supposed to operate, who understand the finances as it relates to that particular league or that particular team, and to understand not only the finances but the employees and how to hire employees that don't conflict with each other, don't conflict with the team or the vision. And industry associations. The heads of these associations are forces to be reckoned with, and that's all that it says about that. Owners. For all purposes, owners must hold a controlling interest of at least 51% of a major professional sports franchise to be eligible. So it's saying that in order to be considered an owner in with regards to sports, that you have to have a controlling interest, and that controlling interest is 51%. So of a major franchise to be considered an owner. So even if you have 30% of that particular team, that doesn't make you an owner. You're only an owner if you own at least 51%. Michael Jordan, still one of the most famous athletes in the world. Jordan is arguably the best basketball player to step on the court. The holder of virtually every major record not only breathed new life onto the sport, but also set the standard for superstar athlete endorsement deals. Contrast from Nike, where his line continues to be a hot seller, to underwear to hot dogs, contributed to Jordan's $40 million a year income, which he pulled in even 2 years after retirement. There's too many to list, but as a further testament to Jordan's influence, Space Jam, the 1996 animated film, which he starred, grossed more than $100 million at the box office despite lackluster reviews. So I remember Michael Jordan. I remember, liking the Bulls, the time when he was playing, and that, I didn't really have what I have now with regards to understanding the teams or the choice of number that's associated with the player. So I didn't really have all that I have now, but it was still an enjoyable experience, I think, for me. Damon Evans. He used his Midas touch to help his alma mater secure tax-exempt financing for $81 million in new facilities and boosted the Athletic Association's reserve fund from $1 million to $9.5 million. Edwards is currently spearheading a $60 million capital campaign for UGA, which is consistently ranked among the top 25 teams in NCAA football. So UGA is the University of Georgia. So he helped them get new facilities. He helped the Athletic Association Reserve Fund boost their funding. So I think that's awesome, Damon Evans. But when it's UGA, you want to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem when it comes to keeping a university of that nature and keeping it from exceeding its boundaries, keeping it from being vulnerable to predators that like to overstep their boundaries and push their beyond limits and try to have other people, go past the limits. So, when you are in the sports and you are in this, it's a field or it's a industry or a genre that uses defense a lot, you want to be effective with that defense. You have to be able to trust the people who are behind the money, Gracie says. That's true. Those that got that money, you want to trust them because they have it for a reason. Bill A. Duffy. Client list, which includes Jay Williams and Anthony Carter, reads like a who's who in professional basketball. Keith Tribble. He's the marketing whiz behind the widely popular FedEx Orange Bowl, negotiating everything from sponsorship sales to broadcasting rights. Prior to his contract with the Bowl Championship Series, Tribble negotiated more than $175 million in television and sponsor rights fees. So Keith Tribble, he is into marketing. The Orange Bowl. I'm not quite familiar with the Orange Bowl, but evidently he does everything that's regarding the Orange Bowl, from sales to broadcasting. Um, so evidently FedEx is a sponsor for it. Larry Miller, president of the Nike Jordan brand. With Jordan off the court, Miller boosted Team Jordan by signing Carmelo Anthony, Gary Payton, and Jason Kidd to the brand. Sean Lawson Cummings of MLB Properties, pitching American baseball to fans in Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Europe, Latin America, and Canada. Lawson Cummings manages all aspects of international licensing and consumer products marketing. Lawson Cummings was named one of the 25 most influential African American women in business by the Network Journal in 2004. So she's one of the first ones that we mentioned so far with regards to sports. And she does licensing, which is always interesting, but just one of those things that you want to be careful about. You have something show up somewhere, it's like, how did it get there? You have no link, because it really, you're making vulnerable the link to accountability, because it's like, as long as they say yes, they want to pick up, they want to license this, you go for it. So you don't want to be, that is not where you want to be. You want to have it so that there are specific criteria or something that keeps that accountability. In 1985, he became the first African American to represent #1 draft pick for the NBA, and this is William L. Strickland. The Los Angeles native then moved to the big leagues, joining the staff at International Management Group, where he eventually rose to president. One thing I've always tried to remain mindful of is to be competent, to do things with integrity, he says. Steve Mills. As the top executive of 3 New York teams, the NBA, Knicks, NHL's Rangers, and WNBA's Liberty, Mills oversees all business operations and is responsible for all sports-related activities at Madison Square Garden, including college basketball, boxing, and track and field. Mills was instrumental in creating the WNBA, helping to negotiate the NBA's collective bargaining agreement, and expanding the MSG Charity for Children Foundation. Steve Mills. So the first WNBA team that I've experienced was Liberty. It was quite an interesting thing. I think viewing female basketball players, I think could be quite interesting, especially, for me, I find it interesting because, sometimes some of them just look like they should have, bows or something. I'm not gonna say bows in their hair, but they shouldn't be wearing basketball shorts. They should be wearing pantyhose and skirts. But that's not all of them, just some of them. So yeah, he's the top executive of 3 of those teams, and one of them includes WNBA's Liberty. Robert L. Johnson. Johnson became the first African-American billionaire in 2000 when he sold Black Entertainment Television to Viacom for $3.9 billion. To get the big prize, Johnson had to outbid NBA legend Larry Bird and his partner, Boston businessman Steve Belkin. While Bird and Belkin worked on moving the child community to get the franchise, Johnson called the league's top brass in politics successfully for the win. Robert L. Johnson. Donald J. Korn. A significant portion of the business was coming from .com companies, and we also had some major banks and insurance companies as clients. Yes, you want your business to grow in order to enjoy future prosperity, but growing at a just right pace is not easy. Yes, you want your business to grow to enjoy future prosperity, but growing at a just right pace is not easy. I've learned how difficult it can be to fine-tune your growth, says Anita J. Hill, president and CEO of B&H International, and importer of lubricants in College Park, Georgia. I was set to buy machinery and retool it to fit my process, but I wasn't sure if that was the right move, so I went to the Georgia Institute of Technology. They advised me not to bring manufacturing in-house. By then, a major company had moved into our retail business, so we got bumped from our shelf space. The people there would supply the technology and do the blending while I do the marketing for lubricant sales to the U.S. auto industry. Our customers are mainly small to mid-sized companies, which are easier to work with than big ones in many cases. Although Brown still has growth plans, they've been downsized. Essence of the Deal by Derek T. Dingle. In 2000, when the media giant acquired 49% of the company, industry observers projected it would buy the rest. The overriding question is whether Black women will lose a strong voice that spoke to their aspirations and has faithfully served as the bully pulpit in the fight against racism, sexism, and other barriers in their ascension. For Time Incorporated, the transaction enables it to expand its portfolio of publications and make inroads into the lucrative Black consumer market. Essence and Sway, both targeted to African American women, are an incredible group of magazines, says Time Incorporated. Time Incorporated's purchase of Essence seems to be somewhat incongruent with the stated aspirations and goals of its parent company's commitment. We feel that we lost something because these institutions and their ownership, by extension, represent a part of us. The only reason Time Warner would want to buy Essence is because of the strength and power of Essence's voice that has been built up over 30 plus years that Ed ran the business, he says. It's just a sheer economic fact of life that over time, as Black companies become very valuable for their brand and market penetration, it's going to be very difficult for African American potential buyers to offer the kind of financial transaction that's going to maximize shareholder value for the seller. Said Lewis told him that he sold Essence to Time Incorporated in part to do what Bob Johnson did, use the proceeds, clout, and connections from his corporate dealings to build other Black institutions. Although Blacks may have not been able to amass the $3.9 billion it took to buy BET, they could have put together the funds needed to purchase Essence. I told them that we should bring these opportunities to the dinner table before bringing them to the neighbors first so we can keep things in the family. Clearly, the most damaging rip inside sources told me was the one between the two founders on strategic and management issues. Smith, who had served as CEO of Essence Entertainment and oversaw the music festival, award show, and website, had become increasingly resistant to the influence of Time Warner. While both Lewis and Ebanks declined to comment for this article, an Essence spokespersons told me that African American women should maintain their confidence that Essence will remain true to them because there will be no change in the editorial voice of the magazine. So we're just making it more official. Couldn't have a title of executive CEO anymore because Time Incorporated has a CEO, but he's very much going to be a presence at the Essence Music Festival. In his capacity, says Lewis will continue to promote the Essence brand to advertisers and professional organizations at industry and marketing events. One area where the synergy between Time Incorporated's various sides will be evident is in the advertising arena. Says Richard Prince, a media columnist for the Robert C. Maynard Institute for Journalism Education. Now, anytime Essence does something that people are suspicious of, they'll probably consider blaming it on its ownership by Time. You don't buy a strong brand, trash it, and then try to convince customers to come back. I would hope that the central mission of the magazine will not be tampered with. Additional reporting by Tamara Holmes. So I'm hoping they're not saying that Essence was put into trash and then trying to build it up. I did include Essence as a subscription, but the focus here has been views for security and law, so we haven't really delved into the individual magazines. I guess we see that the greater good is the peace and the lack, not having conflict when it comes to the magazines that's included for that particular show. than criticizing its choice of, criticizing its choices. To use home ownership to build wealth. Robert Janis. The other is virtual matchmaking, an online pilot program that is scheduled to begin in March 2005. According to Pareto, matchmaking events are scheduled for March 23 and 24 in Nashville, Tennessee, April 26 with the National Small Business Week Expo in Washington, D.C., June 7th and 8th in Los Angeles, and September 14, 16 in Milwaukee. Were you there? Every day in the United States, HP goes to market with 30,000 small business partners as customers. Worldwide, businesses made $24 billion in revenues for HP. For more information on the Business Matchmaking Program, visit their website at www.businessmatchmaking.com or send an email to information@businessmatchmaking.com. Nicole Lewis. For Eric Matkisak, CEO and Chief Investment Officer of Channing Capital Management, LLC, when a company's stock price falls sharply, that can signal a buying opportunity not to be missed. We want to buy quality companies that have delivered good shareholder returns in the past, even though they may be going through a tougher time right now. He says Markel is an attractive buy because they provide insurance in so many small market segments that aren't as competitive. African Americans bear the most costs but receive the least benefits. This is with Carolyn M. Brown. Everybody needs that base, says President of the Board of Directors. Another hard fact is that without Social Security benefits, the portion of African Americans age 65 and older that fall below the poverty line will increase from 23.9% to 58.2%. Carolyn Brown. Lewis says American politics will always be indebted to Shirley Chisholm for extending its reach beyond the mainstream. Erica Smith, Chicago. However, your feature on Blacks already behind the scenes in daytime TV was encouraging. I would have liked to have seen more of a discussion of how to break into the business. It's not, I guess is it a discussion? Because it seems as if things is, like and it's about timing. I guess more about timing, and it's not really about who you know, because if you have the timing and you have and you stay connected to community in a way where you find those opportunities, or you make yourself available and accessible so that those opportunities find you, it makes getting into the business a little different. Selling the brand. Finding a mentor to boost your career. Using real estate to build wealth. Thermal ball. But first, clad thy body in the techiest new winter sport gear out there. Then he loads of inspiring advice from female athletes with altitude and attitude to spare. Bottom, I'm looking at the snow boots. And I'm getting this base layer in the backpack. Thermal ball. The Body Shop personalized body butter for $21 at thebodyshop-usa.com. Beauty. So, can you learn to be funny? I think you can learn to be funny. You can learn where, how to say this, how to say that, how to be compatible to your crowd. Getting laughs from Cameron Esposito. When I was doing stand-up before anyone knew who I was, I would always come out at the beginning of the set. It didn't make sense to talk about my life otherwise, and it was a way of creating a safe space for myself. Getting laughs from Nikki Glaser. I want to have a daughter just because these women exist. Weighted tabletop glute press. Just when the Big Bang Theory's Kaylee Cuoco was ready to settle down to domestic bliss, her plans blew up in her face. Bull Terrier. Boss tweet. So back to that Bull Terrier. It's like bullshit. You're just talking a bunch of bull. In those situations, you just love a Bull Terrier. Really? Because it's not gonna like you. Because how can you lie to a dog? A dog has instincts. So when it comes to something not being bullshit, but you want to insist that it's bullshit, that Bull Terrier got you. Hot button. Jacqueline Azria, fashion stylist and creative director of Women's Health. A bit tomboyish without looking too tough, styles in brown leather, like the Stuart Weitzman Basilico, are the sleekest of the bunch, which makes them the perfect choice for work. Michael Sneeden, video producer. If he knows he hit the right spot, he'll be too proud of himself to remember that other lame move. So I'm going to see if I can find a Bull Terrier. And I think I want to put some on my Facebook. It looks like a pit bull in a way. So it looks like Spud McKenzie. Isn't the name of the dog for Target? Oh my gosh, it really does look like him. It really kind of has a weird look to it. Like it has this shape of its face. But then this one has like a patch over his eye, like the Target dog. So all this time, the Target dog has been a Bull Terrier. So us law folks, specifically me, it's just another one of my dogs. I'm going to post it to Facebook as we speak. Especially, I don't physically have a dog, but I still who is the real owner though? Is this person that you see with the leash, is that really the owner? Or is it someone who's been granted time with that particular dog? So I'm going to put this Bull Terrier on my Facebook. Because we have been addressing a lot of different cases, and it's just one of our dogs, the Bull Terrier. That defense when it comes to that's bullshit. When something is in this industry and but somebody's still in a civilian mind frame because that's their frame of reference. We got the Bull Terrier. It's not one of my favorite dogs that I want to just hug, and hug, but it's definitely a professional one that I would support professionally. Women appear to be more accepting of their bodies and weights. On the bandwagon, behind the music. After a lifetime of battling IRL bullies, online trolls, and her own inner demons, the pop provocateur reveals how she finally learned to tune out the noise. Beauty note. So my beauty note is, even when it's something like a bull terrier that's like, you're not as cute as the bulldog, the beauty note is still accept what you got. This is what you got. And it's not about necessarily what it looks like, because even what it looks like is what you got. And it's like, accept who you are. There will be pain, there will be doubt, there will be beauty, there will be the unknown. Jessica Matlin. When I heard that my original beauty rock star, Courtney Love, attended BeautyCon Festival LA, it was music to my ears. Beauty, give face. The girl group that defined 90s R&B sounds off in oversized fashion, condoms as accessories, and why safe sex is the best sex. Wear your fandom loud and proud with modern iterations of the classic band tee that are perfect for festival season and beyond. Lauren Duca. Music is expected to speak truth to power in times of war. Bruce Springsteen belted Born in the USA in repudiation of the government's disregard for Vietnam vets, though apparently no one told Ronald Reagan before he tried to use it in re-election campaigns. We've got everything you need to breeze through the season in style. Beauty behind the music. We just happen to be the generation that makes the change. So that was by Chance the Rapper. And I think it showed, I saw a pics of Chance the Rapper with, it was like his quote unquote girlfriend. But with everything that's going on, with regards to my co-host, I would get why Chance the Rapper would seek satisfaction with a transgender or a drag queen, because it's kind of what he got right now. And that may not change. In our Outer Network Spotlight, age 8, learn to play marbles. 22, learn to change diapers. 36, learn to run a business. 48, learn to control my blood pressure and cholesterol. 55, learn from my doctor I should take Bayer for my heart. See, it's true. With age comes wisdom. Most women don't realize that heart attacks are a major threat once they hit 50 and have other risk factors. Ask your doctor what your risk is and if aspirin is right for you. Bayer can significantly reduce your risk. And only Bayer has both low dose and Bayer women's and aspirin designed specifically for you. So start protecting your heart, because when you protect your heart, you protect your life. The more you know, the more you trust Bayer. Our Outer Network Spotlight, Bayer. So we're going to go on to the book, which is Wonder Woman, The Ultimate Guide to the Amazon Princess. And if we have time, we'll get into the polyandry and what does that mean to the Lele Show LGBT, and how does that look? How is that? What are some pros? What are some cons? What are some things that are being, what are some things that are being attempted to put here regarding it, for it, against it, it is what it is? Will these two, will they accept it? So we are gonna go to Wonder Woman. Princess Diana was granted the wisdom of Athena, the beauty of Aphrodite, the speed of Hermes, and other miraculous powers by her patron gods and goddesses. The day finally arrived when one of the Amazons would be chosen, following a grueling challenge of fighting skills, athletics, and wits, to become Themyscira's ambassador to Patriarch's world, the mortal realm of mankind. Diana was armed with bulletproof bracelets that symbolized the Amazons' ancestral enslavement by Heracles. So does that mean that Wonder Woman's name is Diana? And then there's Dirty Diana, and then there's fertility god Diana. Mostly these gods are generous, but they only became so after Zeus, son of Cronus, deposed his Titan father from Mount Olympus and allowed his brothers and sisters and children to rule the heavens and the earth and guide the destiny of mankind. In time, however, their influence began to wane, and so they created the Amazons to lead mankind in the ways of virtue and keep the gods forever in people's hearts. Darkseid, an upstart new god from the distant world of Apocalypse, destroyed the Olympian gods' halls and temples, but the legend of the first Olympus still lives on. Ares, Zeus's son and the god of war, has always argued that man should be conquered, and who better than him to do it? So Ares want to conquer man, according to this. It is far enough removed for the gods' well-deserved privacy, but still close enough to permit the Olympians to watch over their beloved mortal believers. Hippolyta was that prehistoric female pregnant with a child whose spirit would find its way back to her many millennia later. Reborn in the time of ancient Greece, Hippolyta and her Amazon sisters were created by the gods of Mount Olympus to bring glory to Gaia, the Earth Mother. Dedicated to peace, the Amazons founded the city-state of Themyscira, ruled harmoniously by the queens Hippolyta and Antiope. Though shamed and beaten, Hippolyta did not lose hope. The Amazons rallied and defeated Heracles and his brutal army. By the goddess Athena's decree, Hippolyta led her sisters to the shores of the Aegean Sea. The Amazons became immortal and regained the purity of spirit robbed from them by Heracles. There, on this secret island barred from mortal man, the Amazons would live as immortals and reclaim their purity of spirit as they guarded over doom's doorway and the unspeakable evils that lay beneath it. The Amazons lived serenely on Themyscira for more than 3,000 years, concealed from Patriarch's world, the domain of mortal man, by the gods' wiles. The Amazons of Themyscira joined an alliance of alien worlds in defense of Earth, the focal point of Imperieus's campaign, the target of an energy tendril that would trigger a new Big Bang. To prevent universal oblivion, the Amazons sacrificed Themyscira, using a mystical enchantment to transport the island into outer space. The island was situated within what would become known as the Bermuda Triangle. Athena gave them wisdom to help them follow the paths of truth and justice. Artemis granted them hunting skills. Demeter promised them plentiful harvests. Hestia helped them build the city of Themyscira. Aphrodite gave them the gift of love, and Gaia made the Amazons strong and powerful. Despite being cut off from ordinary mortals on Themyscira, the Amazons fulfilled the peace-loving dreams of the goddesses of Olympus by guarding the world from the nightmares of Pandora's box. These creatures were all imprisoned behind Doom's doorway. Little by little, by staying true to the principles of the goddesses who had created them, they found peace and happiness. Though granted eternal youth by the gods, Amazons can die like any mortal. Only when the gods eventually returned to Earth were the Amazons able to become living and breathing beings once more. Antiope's lost tribe renounced the girdle of Gaia in the belief that they were forging their own destiny. A young Bana Migdal named Aquila became Shimtar not long after and augmented the battlefield with science and sorcery before injuries to the Amazon Civil War forced her to cede the road to Artemis. Artemis now holds the mantle of Shimtar and pledges to protect all Amazons, be they Themysciran or Bana Migdal. After the Egyptians' army's onslaught, the lost tribe city was swallowed up by the desert sands. However, many of the Bana Migdal survived and were sheltered by Circe. When Hippolyta journeyed to the United Nations as a show of goodwill, Circe loosed Bana Migdal warriors upon the proceedings to black. So I know the United Nations is getting a shout out in this. And with both Amazons and Bana Migdal oblivious to her scheming, Magellan engineered new civil unrest between the two tribes. So this is the birth of Diana that we're going into. This is a lot. I really don't think we're going to get into. Right now, we're just in Wonder Woman's world. So there's Wonder Woman's world, Wonder Woman's allies, Wonder Woman's enemies, and Wonder Woman's career. So now we're in her world. Hippolyta and her Amazon sisters enjoyed peace and prosperity on Themyscira for 3,000 years, but the reincarnated queen longed for the child she had been denied in her previous life. And so, Diana became the first child ever born on Themyscira. With powers granted by the goddess of Olympus, Diana quickly grew strong. Believing it to be one of Philippus's tests, Diana gave her attackers a brutal beating. But when she saw the faces of her victims, friends and sister Amazons all, she felt great remorse and vowed to be mindful of her strength and the damage they could inflict. So I guess now I'm getting why Diana needed a little bit more security, because not only because of the fertility god, but I guess because of Wonder Woman, because it found itself in pornography, pornographic contribution, and it found itself with Michael Jackson's Dirty Diana. In 1948, Diana flew a prototype Sabre jet plane into the Bermuda Triangle, piercing the clouds, concealing Themyscira. A lightning bolt destroyed her plane. She parachuted into the stormy sea, swimming past the whirlpool Charybdis to reach the island. She found the Amazons battling the many-handed monster Cottons at Noon's doorway. So now let's get into her style. The badges and pins on Trevor's flight jacket and the American flag she wore became the major design motives for the costume of Wonder Woman. Upon winning a contest to represent Themyscira in Patriarch's World, young Diana went one step further and donned garb inspired by the red, white, and blue standard of freedom and democracy Trevor wore on her sleeve. And now we get into her powers. Aphrodite gave her beauty and a loving heart. As a child, Diana was schooled in all the martial skills mastered by the Amazons of Themyscira, from archery to swordplay to close combat. Weapons of peace, which is interesting. Weapons of peace, not weapons of war, but weapons of peace. Diana's lasso of truth was bequeathed to her by the goddess Hestia. Diana won the bulletproof bracelets in the contest to represent Themyscira Patriarch's World as Wonder Woman. Crafted by the Artisan Palace, this eagle-inspired armor allows her freedom of movement in close combat. And let's see if anything stands out. Let's talk about weapons of peace. So let's see. So let's go to Fury. Well, because I think they said that Diana is also known as Artemis. So let's go to Artemis, which is in her allies. Wow, I find nothing under Artemis. Now for Fury. When Helena's brother Michael collaborated with the Axis powers in 1941 against their Greek countrymen, the shock of Michael's betrayal caused their mother to suffer a fatal heart attack. With a touch, Helena became host to Tisiphone, the Blood Avenger who would empower Helena to become the feared wartime heroine known as Fury. Possessed by the spirit of Tisiphone, Fury has superhuman strength and speed and wears lightweight, bulletproof golden armor.
Have your attention, please. The Petersburg Public Library will be offering free flu shots to the first 100 people. The parents of minors must be present to consent. There are no other requirements for the flu shots to be taken here. They will be here from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Go out and get your flu shot today.
The Blood Avenger soared into Earth's orbit and tore into the Imperie's prose that had killed her surrogate mother. Helena lay near death until the bitter battle between Minerva and Ballesteros was resolved. Tisiphone, meanwhile, returned to inhabit Helena's troubled soul once more. So when it comes to like the two co-hosts, I'm not really interested in like who does it better. Like who wore it better, who, it's my interest is in both. Let's see. White Magician, 99. After the death of Eris Buchanan, the White Magician remained a fixture in the Boston underworld with his own mysterious and sinister agenda. To attain this level of demonhood, Randolph offered up the cheetah and his own lover, television news reporter Cassie Arnold, as blood sacrifices to his unholy brethren. So, just ironic things. You have one interest that did a movie called Fury, which I didn't know that this Fury was a blood avenger named Fury. I didn't know there was a blood avenger by the same name, which is quite interesting. Well, I'm too short to be Fury. No, I'm just joking. A troubled spirit. Because when it comes to character, it's like you either got the character in it, and that kind of supersedes whether you're 5'6", 118 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. What if you got blonde hair and blue eyes, and you got a weight of 118 lb, and you got 5'6"? So what if you just got it and you got the character? So anyway, that's Furry. So then we went to White Magician. So it says, to attain this level of demonhood, Randolph offered up the cheetah, his own lover, television news reporter Cassie Arnold, as blood sacrifice to his unholy brethren. So I guess I'm supposed to go with regards to Mr. Puff that, you offer up your lover as a blood sacrifice. Like, no. Because I'm going to argue that it's adultery, and some believe that could be that it was rape, adultery, murder. Yeah. Just walk away. And I tried on this show, on my Facebook page, I tried Cardi B. I have the Cupid crib. It's like, well, leave the situation. You have an option here that could save your life because you don't got it trying to fuck with Mr. Puff. So I suggested Cardi B. But that didn't work out. Cardi B got her middle finger in it, and she's more suited for chocolate. So I had to turn that down. So anyway. So according to this, Wonder Woman has a lot of enemies. Ares, god of war, children of Ares, his children, Heracles, Circe, Cheetah 1, Cheetah 2, Villainy Incorporated, Dr. Poison, Giganta, the Silver Swan, Cronus, Devastation, Dark Angel, Dark Seed, Angleman, Dr. Psycho, the White Magician, Clayface, Decay, Rose Gallery, mythical monsters, but her allies are superhero liaisons, friends and loved ones, godly avatars, Wonder Woman, the JLA, Wonder Girl, Coast to Coast, the Capitalis family, the Trevors, Fury, Troia, and Artemis. So let's go to the JLA. On one JLA mission, Wonder Woman's faith in herself and her beliefs were tested by the mystical Rama Khan, whose magic shredded the lasso of Hestia and unraveled the fabric of truth, binding reality together. So Cal wields an Owen power ring that can convert his energy thought into tangible green energy. He's also known as the Green Lantern. As a boy, Batman, Bruce Wayne, witnessed the brutal slayings of his parents. Flash, once a teen titan alongside Donna Troy, Wally, has since graduated to the big league. And JLA is the Justice League of America. So they're using the same female, Gal Gadot, to do, I forget what it's called, but they're bringing the Justice League of America together, or it's like 3 out of 2 additional ones in the Justice League. So like I'm already turned off from the Wonder Woman movie. So it just seems like it's an imposter trying to be a superhero and then trying to gain Batman and Superman. So it like yeah, I don't quite like that. So the other Wonder Women of the world are her allies. It also includes the brave exploits of her mother, Hippolyta, who took on the role of Wonder Woman when Diana died at the hands of demon Neron. Hippolyta time traveled back to 1943 to combat the Nazis, while her young daughter Diana was growing up in blissful innocence on Themyscira. Although she has no superpowers to call her own, and this is Lois Lane, intrepid reporter Lois Lane has made a career out of her risking her life to get the big story. And then there's Batgirl. A trained assassin from infancy, Cassandra Cain is still learning what it means to be a superheroine, even though she may well be the greatest living martial artist, perhaps even rivaling her mentor, the Dark Knight. The Scream Queen. A metahuman by birth, Black Canary possesses a hypersonic canary cry, a high-pitched shriek of amazing power that can shred metal or literally knock opponents off their feet. Black Canary, both of their mothers belonged to the Justice Society of America during World War II. The souls of the princess and her lover, Prince Khufu, were transformed by the power source from a crashed spacecraft from the planet Denagar. The couple became the high-flying Hawkgirl and Hawkman, heroes destined to be reborn life after life to rekindle their love and battle evil where they find it. And that's Hawk. Let's go to friends and loved ones. I like these allies. Raised to be caring and compassionate, Diamond is not afraid to love deeply and without the expectation of her affection being returned. Her death was initially believed to have been a murder, and that's Mindy Mayo. Love in the Lost World. Although he was at first overwhelmed by the strangeness in Diana's superheroic life, Trevor adapted quickly and fought bravely to liberate the Lost World. Let's see. So let's go to the Trevors. Many years later, Diana Trevor's son, U.S. Air Force Colonel Steve Trevor, became the first mortal man ever to set foot on Themyscira. Kohler ordered Colonel Trevor to fly the Air Force's newly modified Phantom fighter jet on a demonstration bombing run inside the Bermuda Triangle. Steve and Etta's friendship turned to love as the years went by and the two became husband and wife. When she first met the beautiful Diana, Etta was jealous of Wonder Woman's rapport with Steve Trevor. Diana discovered that poor Etta had been starving herself to stay thin and convinced her that beauty was more than skin deep. Years before their wedding, Steve Trevor and Etta Candy visited Themyscira as guests of the grateful Amazons. In the Temple of Hades, Steve stood before the statue erected to Diana Trevor and confessed aloud his pent-up feelings of abandonment by his mother, who had left him on Christmas Eve so many years before to fly on her final fateful mission. And those are just some of her allies. And what about some things that she's up against? Like we talked about that white magician. What about Ares, the god of war? The god of war's desire to conquer and subjugate humanity can be seen in the bitter hatreds and jealousies that have long divided the nations of the earth. Before the Amazons. Even as the Amazons first breathed life, the god of war plotted their ruin. There they lived in secret for 3,000 years until Hippolyta's yearning for a child was answered by the Olympian goddess. The Olympians returned to stone, but Diana restored both pantheons to life and joined them in righting the balance of creation. However, he shared the battlefield with his youthful Hindu counterpart to punish the Cyclopean centaur slaughter. And what about his children? The children of Ares, the war god's children, share their brutal father's unending hatred for Wonder Woman. Ares is the goddess of strife and the possessor of the golden apples of discord, which bring only rancor and hatred to anyone foolish enough to taste their bitter fruit. Now, what about Harmonia? She supported peace, but the thread of her destiny was cut tragically short. And this one came up, but there's not much about him or her. So we're going to move on to Deimos decapitated. When Ares and his sons threatened to start a nuclear war, Wonder Woman used Harmonia's amulet to breach the evil god's netherworld base. Empowered by the psychic energies of a band of religious zealots led by the deranged former crime boss Maxie Zeus, the war god Spawn transformed Gotham into a new base from which their father could carry on his relentless war upon mankind. And the rebellious children. At the height of battle, Phobos took over Batman's body and became the ultimate god of fear. Wonder Woman convinced Ares of his brood's betrayal. Oh, there's so many enemies. What about this one? Circe. The evil enchantress Circe has the power to bring out the beast in man. Those unlucky survivors spared a quick death at sea found themselves transformed into the bizarre bestiomorph abominations, every one of her slaves that populated Circe's island home. Biting the Big Apple. It might have been their final battle if not for Cersei's young daughter, Lita. It remains to be seen how much of her parents' supernatural might Lita has inherited. And then there's Cheetah 1 and Cheetah 2. And there's Villainy Incorporated. Queen Hippolyta first fought Villainy Incorporated during World War II, when the evil Clive deposed Queen of Venturia, assembled the very first cheetah, Dr. Poison, Hypnotic Woman, and the sorceress Zara to attack Atlantis. Villainy Incorporated failed then, but Clea's determination was undying. Clea's second incarnation, the Riot Girls. Clea's second incarnation, Villainy Incorporated, included the cybernetic siren, Cyber Girl, the original Dr. Poison's ghastly granddaughter, the giantess Giganta, East Indian sorceress Jeets, and the mysterious Trinity, whose 3 terrible faces concealed her insidious intentions. Cyber Girl. LaTonya Charles destroyed her body with a drug known as tar, but LaTonya's aunt, Sarah Charles, saved her niece from death with powerful cybernetic implants. Trinity. Before becoming a member of Villainy Incorporated, Trinity battled the 10 Titans with her 3 Val Visages. And the Trinity virus. She was a living computer virus designed to infect the Shambhala mainframe and reestablish the glory of old Atlantis by turning back the clock. So far I've come up with 2 in RuPaul's Trinity. That's Trinity K. Bonet. And we have Jinx Monsoon, but I think Jinx uses 2 X's instead of 1. What about Giganta? Is she really an enemy? What if they made Giganta into a lover? There, Zul languished in limbo until her loyal lab assistant freed Zul's mind by transferring it into the body of Giganta, a gorilla test subject. Though circumstances not fully revealed, Zul, as the gorilla Giganta, kidnapped a strong woman named Olga from the Balthazar Circus. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Devastation. Oh, she looks so cute. Devastation. His purpose was to create a being that would answer Wonder Woman's bright challenge to his dark powers, a creature that would spread despair and chaos on Earth. All of his other monstrous children, Harrier, Disdain, Titan, Slaughter, Arch, and Oblivion, gathered round to bestow their blessings. Devastation's aim is little by little to subvert Wonder Woman's benign influence over the hearts and minds of ordinary Americans and turn people into unstable, merciless missionaries of discord, prejudice, and brutality. That is her aim. She's just doing her job. Diana successfully appealed to this drop of goodness in the evil child, and the bomb exploded harmlessly underground. there's many more friends and allies, and there's many more enemies with regards to Wonder Woman. So this book is available in a library. You probably can pick it up at a bookstore. I thought that was kind of fun to read and share. And I'll go into this one, Heracles. In the annals of Greek mythology, Heracles is remembered as a hero and helper to both the gods and mankind. However, to the Amazon sisterhood, his name will forever live in infamy as the man who brutally betrayed their trust and tried to enslave them. On the plains beyond the city's gates, Heracles faced the Amazon queen Hippolyta, who showed the demigod that his brute strength was no match for her superior combat skills. Lulled by the promise of peace and attracted by Heracles' rugged charm and mighty physique, the Amazon queen accepted a drugged cup of mead. At last, Wonder Woman freed Heracles from his burden, and he became the first man to set foot on the Amazon's island paradise. Having finally shown himself to be a true man, Heracles ascended as a god to Mount Olympus. Wonder Woman had no idea that the brash and arrogant champion had once been the bane of all Amazons. In reality, Heracles was planning out a secret plan that began with a stolen kiss from Diana and a potion not unlike the one that had led to Hippolyta's humiliation. So evidently Heracles was someone that changed. He was a prick, and then he changed into a god. So I think that is going to be it that I'm going to go into. Well, I'll go into this one, Troia. She began as Diana's identical twin, but was kidnapped and reincarnated many times. In her final incarnation, she was Troy, an orphan child raised on the planet New Cronus by the Titans of myth. With 12 other children, she was to become one of a new race of gods. At age 13, Donna became the teen heroine Wonder Girl. Sadly, the marriage was not to last. Soon and in divorce, despite the birth of their son,
your Petersburg Public Library will be offering free flu shots for the first 100 people.
Both ex-husband and son were killed not long after the car crash.
Flu shots will be provided by Petersburg Health Department. This event will be located in our Wellness Center on the second floor today between 4 and 7. Thank you.
Troia has belonged to nearly every Teen Titans lineup. So that's awful. She got a divorce, even though she had her son, and then both the son and the husband was killed. So that has been Wonder Woman, the ultimate guide to the Amazon princess. So now I have a few minutes with regards to the co-host going, including someone else. So polyandry is a form of polygamy in which a woman takes 2 or more husbands at the same time. So let me repeat that. It is when a woman takes 2 or more husbands at the same time. So would they be interested? Are they interested? And is it possible to not be interested in what was put for you? So my obedience has really found itself in a way that I never thought that I would have to address it. You know, but I'm having to address it, and I'm addressing it. So in my polyandry, it would be Mr. Puff and Mr. Pitt. Will they have me? Will they accept what is put here with regards to obedience, with relationships, to love, to life, to contribution to society? Will they? And so it was accepted in Tibet, but it was outlawed when the Chinese assumed the area in 1950. And so it's kind of been with the Chinese since then in Tibet. However, there are several places in Africa and Asia that accepts it. So it's actually legal in 58 of nearly 200 states. The majority of them are Muslim majority countries that's situated in Asia and Africa. But everywhere else is considered illegal. So this is weird because it says that polygamy is legal, but polyandry is illegal in virtually every state, which is weird because polyandry, it states, is a form of polygamy. So it's like you can't have one without the other. It's very complicated. Now that is a good question. If polygamy is legal in 58 states, how is polyandry illegal? And polygyny, which is when a man has several women, is allowed. So weird. So I guess you have to go to the states, the 58 states that have polygamy, to then get identification for polyandry. But that's where we're at right now with that. So it's like permitting polygamy. That's polygamy in its general sense. So I don't know if that means that you have to be not specific to the sex, because polygamy is where it's just specific to the spouse. You have more than one spouse. So then when they go into polyandry, it's specific to the gender or the sex. So I'll keep you updated on that, because it kind of changes things in a way, but not really. Because it changes where the show would be broadcast. Because you want to be broadcast where you're supported, or it changes the length of time before it'll be put out there. Because if you have to go into common law where it's not supported, then, you know, if that is even possible, that's even an option, then that changes it. If there's a time frame that comes with that. I don't think it's anything out there about a time frame. I don't really know a lot about common law situations. So this is new to me, but I know it's in my ID, and I haven't been able to eliminate it or terminate it as it not being an option. So it is, common law marriage. Common law marriage. It's also known as sui juris marriage. It's informal marriage or marriage by habit and repute. It's a legal framework in a limited number of jurisdictions where a couple is legally considered marriage without that couple having formally registered their relation as civil or religious. But again, it doesn't list like what it entails. But anyway, we're gonna stop it right there now. It still doesn't mention any time frame. It just says that statutory marriage and common law have the following characteristics. You have to freely consent, you have to be of legal age, and neither may be under a disability that prevents him or her from entering into a valid contract or a valid marriage. The differences between common law and statutory marriage is that there's no license by the government, there's no marriage certificate filed with the government, there's no formal ceremony before witnesses. You have to identify yourselves as spouses, but that's not required for a statutory marriage. And most require that you're cohabitating when it's formed. And some, this is where it goes, some require a length to last a certain amount of time, such as 3 years, in order for it to be married, but it doesn't create a marriage. So being obedient to security and law is just, you know, it's like being obedient to, it's similar to being obedient to God. You can talk about it in theory, but when it comes to like actually walking it and like, you know, being really in it. It's like you have to really ask yourself, is this really who you are? Is this really, are you really capable of being truly obedient to you and to what is in your idea, what it is that you have? Like, are you really willing to be that way? Are you really willing to walk it, and are you really willing to be held accountable for you? So are you really ready to, with responsibility? And it comes about, and it's not just you, but everyone that supports you, that supported yours as well. It's like all of this has to not be here. Not like it never existed, but it has to be identified with what it is. Offenders, if it's offenders, if they're killers, if they're, harmers, trying to pretend in pretension, it has to be identified what it is. Is that nuclear weapons? Is that biological weapons? It has to be identified as it is, and it has to meet the consequence that's in proportion, idea with that offense. And it's about standing by that, and I stand by that with everything that this show stands on. I stand by that. This co-host and this new interest of a co-host, I stand by it. Like the Bible says, you're not supposed to, if you're public, you're not supposed to do that in private. You're supposed to be public, which means it can't be trusted with a secret. If you're public, it's not going to be secret. It's going to be public. What's going on is going to be public. Why it's going on is going to be public. And it may not be accessible to everybody. Public. So I'm going to go because I'm supposed to go to this Narcotics Anonymous meeting. I guess I shouldn't be saying it because it's supposed to be anonymous, but I only have to go to one meeting. So it's right here in the area. I have no idea how long it's going to be. I guess it's going to be about an hour or so, but I'm going to this Narcotics Anonymous meeting and just be present, and I hope that even though I may not talk a lot or I may not share because I'm not specifically narcotics, that my presence there will be a contribution, because I never even thought about attending that type of nature of anyone that's different than me or going through something that's different than me. So I'm going to head out now for that. Keep in your prayers, as me and Mr. Puff and Mr. Pitt are united together, and that we're not judged by anyone, and that who we truly are with society, who we truly are with life, and who we truly are with law, that all who we got and all that support those values will stand on and be obedient to how they're supposed to be to manifest those values. So this is the Late Late Show with BT. Bye.